This lesson introduces the thumbnail photo service, an example application that will evolve in design throughout the class. This lesson focuses on applying the principles that were learned in the previous lessons in this module.
In this case, we're going to introduce a very basic photo service. So this is going to be a thumbnail photo service, and this example application, it's going to evolve in its design throughout this class. So we're going to apply what we've learned in this module to what we're looking at here. So let's gather the requirements. So first of all, it's a brand new service, so we don't really know how popular it'll be. Our users are going to be on the internet. They're going to use a web browser from a computer. Basically, they're going to upload images, and it's going to generate thumbnails. Now, assume we don't have PCs fast enough, okay? Just work with me on this. The speed, we don't really care. As long as it's under a minute. This beats the estimated thumbnail creation time on a computer. So this is a little service we're going to offer. Resources, well, we don't know how big it is. We're just going to guess. Scale, we're just going to start out with something small, right? We think it's going to grow bigger, so we're going to try to put it into something that can grow, maybe a single virtual machine with a couple cores. We know we can go up to 64, which is quite a bit from our benchmarking internally. What about size? Well, we're just going to service from one location. We're not really sure where the users are going to come from, so we'll just stick it in some central location in the US. What about availability? Well, nobody knows about it. They don't rely on it. So if it's up, it's up. If it's down, it's not. But we'll put something around that. So let's look at the business logic. Here's what happens. Basically, we want to take a big image and convert it to a thumbnail. So what does it look like? Well, we have some kind of user experience layer. This is our front-end presentation. Perhaps it's a website. Perhaps it's an application on a mobile platform. It doesn't matter. This is the logic on where it's coming in. The process is we're going to ingest whatever these images are. We're going to store them. Whether we store them temporarily, whether we store them on disk or in memory, doesn't matter. Again, this is our process. We are going to run some kind of conversion process on it. Then we're going to output that converted thumbnail back out to some kind of storage. Then we're going to serve it back to the user through that same user experience. Great. Now that we understand the logic, we can go ahead and start to create some design. So here's what we did. We defined a service level objective. In this case here, the service is going to be up, say, 23 hours a day, and it can be taken offline for an hour each. That comes out to about 95.83% availability. Why did we come up with that? We figured, it's somewhat decent, right? But we're going to measure this by simply measuring, is the server up or down? All right. If the server lights aren't on, then it doesn't work. The users aren't happy. So here's what it looks like. We're going to choose a single piece of hardware. It's going to run on that hardware, and we're going to store log files as well. That's going to become important. So the application is separate from the log data it's generating. Now, let's go into some process. So when we test before any particular launch, obviously for something this small, we could probably put it on our desktop, just throw it up in the cloud, and we're good to go. But as we start to grow, we want to talk about certain process that you might do. Pre-production processes. So unit test, integration test with other applications, testing it on for the specific systems. This was very important, especially in environments in which you have different components, different hardware that you might be publishing in the future. When we get into things like containerization, you don't have to worry about that much. What about stress testing? Can it work to the scale that we anticipated? And what happens when we start to throw load, finding out where those bottlenecks are? Now, at some point, you do have to test in production. And so we want to do so carefully. So there's a couple ways to do it. We can do a rolled out type of provisioning in which we deploy to a small number of customers. If that works, then we just start to deploy to more and more customers. You can also do red, green, or A/B testing, in which you can say, you know what, we're just going to turn the whole thing off and put on version 2. Or you do canary deployments and just test that out, see if it works. If so, then just simply switch everything out. So a number of different ways depending on the scale and the amount of interruption that could be created for your users.